I was listening to a podcast about technology that's used in wars, specifically night vision, and it got me thinking. Before night vision was invented, how did soldiers manage to see what they were doing in the middle of the night without being seen by the enemy? This question led me down a fascinating rabbit hole of how animals were used in World War I. I had no idea that some of the most unlikely creatures played such vital roles in keeping soldiers alive on the front lines. Stick with me until the end, that's the one I found most unusual. Picture a soldier crouched in the muddy trenches. It's pitch black and the darkness is a cloak of invisibility. He's desperately trying to read a map to find his next position, but any light could mean sudden death if spotted by the enemy. Enter the glowworm, an unlikely hero that helped soldiers navigate in the dark. Glowworms produce a low, soft light, bright enough for soldiers to read maps and letters, but dim enough to avoid enemy detection. Often found in damp, grassy areas or near low shrubbery by the trenches, glowworms were scooped up into jars to create a makeshift lantern, literal lifesavers. Random fact, glowworms are not worms at all. They're actually a type of beetle. You've probably heard the phrase canary in a coal mine, but did you know these little birds were also lifesavers on the battlefield? Highly sensitive to poisonous gases like carbon monoxide and methane, canaries would alert soldiers to danger long before humans could sense it. These birds were kept in small cages, and soldiers would carefully watch for the moment a canary fell from its perch, an urgent warning that poison gas was in the air. Now, if you're wondering what happened to the little bird after it collapsed, it's a bit of a sad story. Initially, many of these brave little creatures would lose their lives. However, over time, special cages were created with built-in oxygen tanks. When a canary dropped from its perch, soldiers would quickly seal the cage and release oxygen into the box, reviving their little friend to continue its mission. Now, these next two animals are pretty common in our everyday lives today, but on the battlefield, they played a vital role in the health and safety of the soldiers. Man's best friend, always has been and always will be. These loyal creatures played a pivotal role on the front lines and had many jobs. Communication was a constant challenge in the trenches, as telephone lines were often severed. Dogs were trained as messengers, running across dangerous battlefield terrain to deliver vital information between units. With capsules attached to their collars, they darted through obstacles that might have tripped up human runners. They also had a role as mercy dogs or Red Cross dogs. These dogs were trained to find wounded soldiers on the battlefield. With their keen sense of smell, they could locate soldiers who were injured and often hidden under debris. Mercy dogs carried medical supplies in small saddlebags, allowing wounded soldiers to treat themselves if able. They also provided comfort to injured soldiers in their final moments, refusing to leave their side. But not all threats in the trenches were as dramatic as enemy fire or poison gas. Sometimes the smallest enemies were the most persistent. Rats overran the trenches, spreading disease and gnawing at food supplies. For this, soldiers enlisted the help of a cuddly but effective ally, cats. Trained to hunt rats, cats became indispensable in the trenches and on naval ships. They kept the rat population in check, guarding against disease and preserving precious food rations. Beyond their practical role, these trench cats offered comfort to soldiers, a small reminder of home during the scariest time of their lives. Now, this next animal has a very famous story attached to it. Meet cher ami, French for dear friend. This heroic pigeon earned his name by saving the lives of 194 soldiers. Homing pigeons have been used for thousands of years to deliver messages quickly and discreetly. With an innate ability to find their way home, they were ideal for communicating across enemy lines. On October 4th, 1918, more than 550 men found themselves trapped behind enemy lines with no food or ammunition. Unaware of their exact location, Allied forces began firing upon them, mistaking them for the enemy. With no way to signal their position, it fell to cher ami to save the day. By this point, there were only 194 men left. They attached a note to cher ami's leg and set him free. The note read, "We are along the road parallel to 276.4. Our own artillery is dropping a barrage directly on us. For heaven's sake, stop it." As cher ami took flight, snipers spot him instantly. He was shot through the breast, blinded in one eye, and had one leg hanging on by a thread. Yet this brave bird continued his mission, delivering the message that ultimately saved the lives of 194 men. Though he passed away in 1919, his bravery was honored with a medal, and his legacy lives on at the Smithsonian Institution. And finally, the creature you'd never think of. The humble slug. How could a slug save lives, you ask? Well, slugs are incredibly sensitive to poison gas, especially mustard gas. When exposed, they compress their bodies and close their breathing pores, giving soldiers an early warning and enough time to put on their gas masks. Known as the Slug Brigade, these tiny creatures saved thousands of lives. It's remarkable to think that something so small played such a crucial role in the war. So there you have it. Glowworms, canaries, dogs, cats, pigeons, and slugs. Each one a unique and essential player in the survival of soldiers during the Great War. Many other animals like horses, mules, oxen, and even dolphins have played critical roles in warfare throughout history, but we'll leave those stories for another time. If you're looking for more interesting stories from Past Unpacked, check out this completely bizarre disaster that happened in 1919. Thanks for watching. Keep an eye out for future videos.